What's going on, guys? It's Ed here from ClicksGeek, and today I am with Rob Warner and Joe Troyer from PPC Ad Lab. What's up, guys?
Hey, Ed. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good to be here.
Absolutely. So, as you guys know, one of the questions I get frequently is, who should I be prospecting to? Who should I be getting in front of? Who should I be selling? And frequently my answer is, find out who's running Google Ads already and sell to those folks, because you don't need to do the double sell. You don't need to sell on the merits of Google Ads and then the merits of your services. You just already have the audience there that is a known buyer of Google Ad services. These two gentlemen came up with a product that helps identify who's using Google Ads and to what extent, and the types of ads they're running, the times they're running, the frequency. So much cool stuff. So today we're here to talk about their product, which is PPC Ad Lab. So Joe, Rob, you want to dive in and just give me kind of a quick 30,000 foot overview of what the product is, how it works, stuff like that?
Rob, I think you should lead off on that one and tell how like this side little project, this little tool became, the crazy SaaS that it is today on pure accident.
And you're absolutely right, Joe. So Ed, it's a really good question to start with, because it's kind of like the origin of how this thing came to be. We know, like most agencies know, that, as you said, you don't have to double sell a Google advertiser because they already see the value of advertising on Google. We understand that. We know that. These guys are our ideal prospects. Finding them is really difficult. Building a list of Google advertisers is really hard. Google goes to great extremes to make sure that ads are personal, local, and relevant. So, if you're trying to build a list of prospects, it's a hard thing to do. And Joe and I had a need to do exactly that last year. And we bought every product under the sun that we could get our hands on. And I'm not going to name names, I don't want to badmouth anybody, but if you wanted to find out who's really doing ads in the market, you could probably think of a handful of products that you go and look at. We did. We tried everything. Nothing worked. We ended up with just a handful, scattered list of prospects. Oh dear, this is unfortunate. We have a commitment to deliver this. We can't fulfill it. But we ended up hiring somebody who then manually went through and was proxying and changing location, a whole bunch of stupid stuff just to build a list. So I thought there has to be a better way. And I hired a guy and I said, here's how I think we could build something. And it's just a contractor. I think if we do this approach, let's build something, get me a CSV of all the advertising their ads. And he went, well, I need to build a CSV. I went, that's great. Could you just add a couple of things onto it? I did another version of that. And about 2 or 3 rounds of this, he went, can I put a user interface on this? Because it would make it much easier and stop you having to ask me questions every time you want something. So we put the user interface on it. And it's like, actually, this is getting really quite useful. This has a use case beyond what I first envisaged. I started to find out a ton of intelligence about not just who was advertising, what their ads were saying, where they were running, at times. And it was a side project. It was literally just a side thing that we needed for a purpose. And Joe and I met up last May. And we talked about our list of priorities, and we went, oh, that thing you've been working on, that's not really core to what we're doing. That's not that important. Let's just shelve it. No, there's something in this. I like this. Fast forward 9 months, and we have a beautiful little SaaS that, as we said, helps identify any Google advertiser in any market, anywhere in the world, and a ton of other stuff about them that you could otherwise not find out.
Mm-hmm. You nailed something there. Where you had someone going in with different VPNs, different locations, different times, trying to build the list. What I found is that if I hired someone to do exactly what you've described, they would only catch if that person was advertising at that given moment that they ran the search, if they had enough ad budget, if it was even within their ad schedule. There's so many different variations there. And one thing.
Absolutely.
Yep. And
yeah, you're right. That's it. When you think about it, I mean, how many advertisers do you know that have 100% ad impression share? They don't. So the chances are, of your one random search at one specific time on one specific type of device,
yep,
adjusting for things like bid schedules, bid adjustments, competitors, impression share, and everything else that goes in, it's a potluck. You might get 10%. In fact, all our evidence is you get less than 10%.
Yep. And one of the, so guys, I've been using the software. I think I'm in month 2 or 3 now. And one of the cool things about their software is you can pick how often it does a query, how often it'll pull the data in. So whether it's hourly, every couple hours, every day. So you're getting a really good cross section of what's actually happening in the market versus what you might think off of one particular search. And then you can also run it for mobile versus desktop. So in the local market, some guys only want mobile traffic, others want just desktop or a mix of both. And this allows you to run different queries based on different parameters you put in place. Really cool software for the lead gen side of things. Now let's turn the tables to Joe. Why, if you knew a list of known advertisers in Google Ads, what would you do with that list? Why is that list important? What type of prospecting would you do to generate agency clients?
Yeah, for sure. I think at the core of it, prospecting for agencies, usually outbound, is all about, some type of competitor intelligence angle. Whether, no matter how you boil it down, if you look at any outreach strategy, it's you have a problem, your competitors are doing it better, they're doing it worse. Here's something that you should know. Here's something that you should see. And at the end of the day, like, the market is so much more sophisticated than when we all got started in it. And the broad outreach strategies just don't work so well anymore. So now we have, number one, we have all the advertisers, so we don't have to double sell. Right. So we can go right to the Google Ads advertisers and we can make them a better offer. Right. But before that, we need to give them a marketing message that stands out from everybody else in the market. So it just so happens with Ad Lab that, yes, we can use it to build the list, but we also use it to get all these data points and all this competitive intelligence that literally nobody else has in the marketplace. Right. So like, this allows us to say, hey, do you know that your most prominent competitor is A and the second one is B? Or, hey, we analyzed this industry, Tampa plumbers, for the last 7 days, and we found that there's, 34 unique advertisers and they're running 67 different ads. Would you like to see that? Right? Like, this is all messages that our prospects have never heard, not once in the lifetime that they've been prospect to, which in this day and age is like, it's not normal at all, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And well, one of the cool things I like about your platform, something I actually haven't done yet myself, because we're doing stuff more on the cold call side of things, is you guys have cold emailing and templating built into the product, where you can, as lists are getting built, you could be dripping them messages, and as you pull new queries, you could be adding people to lists as well. So can you talk a little bit about the cold emailing side of things built in, and then also how the emails actually specifically go out versus us having to use our particular domain? Kind of walk through how that works.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we integrate with any domain provider that you want to integrate, right? It's SMTP integration. We definitely suggest that use kind of one of the top cold email platforms. I've been using G Suite forever for cold email, like literally since like 07, 08, since Gmail first started, I've been doing cold email. So I recommend that. Like, it's old faithful for me, but we can plug into like Microsoft Outlook. We can plug into any of the other third-party tools that you'd use for outreach. And so we send through your domain. I think the thing that's really interesting is that we just made it, number one, super simple. Like, it's just in the app. You don't have to buy anything else. It's all right there. So it's really fast. So I think a lot of people that have tried to do cold outreach before and have gotten stuck in the weeds and actually never actually got the process up and actually going, with our tool, are having wins that they've never seen before. And then second, I think what's really unique is like every single thing that we find about an advertiser from one of these searches or jobs that we run is in the database, and we can pull that into the email as a token. Right. So we can literally say, or a short code. So we can say the data that I was saying earlier, right? We found 44 competitors for this search term. We found this many ads. Like, literally any data that we find, we can put in that email. And that provides for some really, really unique and personalized outreach that, again, like our prospects in the marketplace as local business owners really haven't seen before.
Very cool. And one of the things I really liked is in some of the training, the bonus material training you guys have, it's how to hire a VA, someone overseas, where you get some pay arbitrage to actually run this for you. So it's not something you actually have to do yourself. Can you walk through like what that process would look like about putting someone in place, just so they're not sending out some weird shit that may or may not fit what you'd want, and how you guys have kind of templated the process?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think from the highest level, like when I got started and really started scaling my agency, I found huge wins in cold email. And I found that I could set up kind of an evergreen system where I didn't have to be involved in the day to day, but I could reliably book 2 to 3 appointments a day. And then that gave me the marketing budget, right, by signing deals from that to actually put an SDR, sales development representative, a VA on there to really monitor that inbox, to add more leads, right, to call up those leads, right. And I could take, from 2 to 3 bookings a day and me being pretty involved to me not being involved at all and just overseeing a VA or an SDR that whose sole responsibility is to make the most of that campaign and take it from 2 to 3 appointments a day to maybe 4 or 5 or 6 appointments a day.
Very cool. Awesome.
I could just jump in there for a second.
Yep.
I'd add to what Joe's just said, because I think Joe's absolutely got that on point. But from the point of view of efficient prospecting, the steps that you need to go through are: step one, decide what search terms and what location you're interested in. Yeah, and enter it in our platform. I mean, that's a 10-second exercise to say, I'm interested in plumbing keywords in Tampa, Florida, for Joe's example. I want to check Google every 3 hours for the next 7 days on desktop. Always go desktop for prospecting because there's more advertiser slots on desktop. There's 2 on mobile, so go desktop. And press go. Our platform will then start running, and it will start not only finding advertisers, it will do contact lookups to find the contact information. It's not 100% successful these things, never are. It's about 50-50, but that's where all your points, all you have to this stage is set that up, say, and run this email campaign to it, which can be a multi-step email campaign, 4 or 5 different angles, all using the personalized outreach points, data points that Joe's mentioned. You're the 47th ranked runner in Tampa. Would you like to know who the other 46 are? And hand the rest of that process over to an SDR to actually do the follow-up, to do the check-ins, to do the calls. So your effort as a business owner is something like once a week, set one job running that will find you anything between 50 and a few hundred prospects, depending on what you're running. If you wanted to run a state for the top 25 cities in the US or other countries, we cover, I think, pretty much the world, 102,000 locations. So you could say, I want top 25 cities, top 100 cities, top 10, whatever, or specific locations. Let it build a list and hand the process off to an SDR, and not touch it until the appointment lands in your calendar. When it comes to leverage in your prospects, that's pretty highly leveraged use of your time.
Absolutely.
I think you can set up an ad campaign that fast.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Okay. On the list building side of things and the cold email side of things, how many cold emails should you be sending per day? Per week, per month? Give me some metrics to kind of top of the funnel down to the bottom of the funnel for appointments.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess I'll start. I think echoing what Rob said, I think, cadence is important, and you're kind of asking about that as well. That kind of flows in naturally.
Yep.
So I think a great cadence is once a week, right? You as the business owner or the VA/SDR goes in and runs a new job, right? We'll find anywhere from 40, 50, 60% of the contacts, right? For the domains that we found advertising. One of the SDR's key roles should definitely be helping add to that, right? For the contacts that we don't find, going and supplementing that data. And then ultimately, we should be sending 3 to 4 cold emails, right? Over the course of about 2 weeks. I like to put 2 to 3 days in between my follow-up attempts. And by going out that long, you're really going to catch the people that are busy one day, forget about you, or the people that went on vacation, or they're out of office. Always at the end, I like to put in what I call a breakup email, right? And that's my last email. And it's like, we're going to close your file. I'm going to, assume that you don't want anything to do with me. See you later. That email crushes it, right? And it's so made up. It's like, I'm going to close your file. Like, what does that even mean? Right. Like, but it works. It's like, I'm going away. This is it. I'm pissed off. And it's like, wait. I have been seeing all your emails. Sorry. And the email before that, I think, is really important too. So typically the third email, what I like to do is I like to ask if it's the right person. right? I've been emailing you, you haven't responded. I'm offering value, right? You haven't taken me up on anything. Are you the right person? Like, am I barking up the wrong tree? Basically, is the angle of the email, and those do really well. So then you're left with like two different outreach angles, and we have lots of different templates inside the platform that have worked really well. As Rob said, we lead with personalization and data that they can't find anywhere else. So it's really easy to get a yes, like that's super interesting, and I haven't been offered that before.
Very cool.
In terms of warm up, though, I think is kind of the second part of the question.
Okay.
I think whenever you do cold email, you need to do anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks of cold email warm up, and they make it super easy these days. Like in the past, it was really hard because you had to actually get good open rates, get good reply rates, get good engagement, and now there's tools out there that help you get that programmatically. Right. And so like you don't have to be good at all those things to actually get a really warm email address to ensure that what you're sending actually gets delivered. So there's tools like Lemlist and Warmbox that will help you for $10 to $20 per email account, get those email accounts, those cold email accounts warmed up and ready to start sending.
Got it. Okay. So for those that don't know, why would you warm up an inbox?
Yeah, so I guess first off, zoom out one more step is like you always want to be sending cold email not from your primary domain, right? So if you're a dental marketing agency and your website is dentalmarketingagency.com, right? You'd want to probably pick like the .net or the .org or add a separate word in there, and you're going to use that domain specifically to send cold email from. Okay. Why? Because if it ever gets blacklisted, it ever gets hurt, you get flagged for spamming, right? Your primary domain isn't going to get flagged. So you always want to set that up as a precaution. And when you're setting up a brand new domain and you start sending out 10, 20, 30 cold emails a day, it doesn't look very natural. Right. And then you start to follow up with people, and all of a sudden you're at a couple hundred outbound emails a day. It looks very strange to Google. That's not normal behavior. Right. So we want to take a little bit of time and start building it up and show Google that you can be trusted. Right. Like that your emails are going to get open. They're going to get engaged with. They're going to get replies. And we find that a lot of times Google, if you don't do that, will send like a shutdown notice, and they'll just tell you that they've shut it down for suspicious activity. And a lot of people are like, oh no, and they stop dead in their tracks. But like if you just go back and you appeal it, in my experience, almost every time they're like, yep, no problem. It's your account's reactivated and you can start sending emails like quite literally immediately. So just because Google flags you, don't give up. Keep going for sure.
Got it. Okay, cool. So about a 2-week process of warming it up. Once you get rolling on your emails, how many do you think someone should be sending in order to get some interested hands raised? Some prospects to identify like, hey, okay, that sounds interesting. I want to hear more about it.
For sure. I mean, I guess to zoom out, like I always look at open rates first, and then I look at like reply rates or booking rates, right? Are kind of the key metrics that I'm looking at. But at the end of the day, like I want to see that I'm getting between 1 in 10 and 1 in 15 of the people that I add into the system by the end of all the emails actually booking an appointment with me.
Wow. Okay.
If I'm doing that, right, imagine those stats, like those are really crazy numbers. That means every week I go run an Ad Lab job and I do my thing and I'm monitoring it. I got the SDR in place, right? I'm getting multiple appointments every single week, pretty much on autopilot, right? And then we can start to scale, right? We can start to then call the people that are opening but haven't responded. And then the magic really starts to happen, and we can really start to compound those efforts.
Got it. Interesting. So I really need to stop pulling my list just for pure cold calling. I need to get on the cold email side of things.
For sure, 100%. You probably double what you're doing with cold calling. I don't know what your numbers are. And I built an agency just cold calling. So it works, right? But you're getting a lot of people that you can't get through to, right? Is the issue, right? It's just a timing issue. And so email, people will make time. You get multiple follow-up attempts. And I think when you have a message that's really unique and you can stand out, that response rate can be quite high.
Got it. Okay, cool. What else should I know about the prospecting side of things? Cold email, list building, anything on the prospecting side? What are some tips, tricks, any good stuff that I should know that I'm not asking right now?
Yeah, so I mean, we talked really high level about like the messaging, but what we haven't talked about is the reporting and the white label kind of reports that we give out. Rob, you want to touch on that one real quick? So there's another way that we add value beyond just sending out those cold emails. Completely differentiates ourselves from the marketplace and our agency customers. And a lot of our customers are taking this to a complete another level, and they're charging as a foot in the door for this service alone. And making money before they ever go and sell any other agency service. And it's really interesting. And like a lot of things have happened with this tool, it happened on just like pure happenstance. A customer did it and we're like, oh, that's really neat. Like we should talk about that. Let's do some more of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'll pick that up, Joe, because you're absolutely 100% correct. So the thing we found is nobody wants our logo and our branding all over everything they send out. Last thing you want to do is go, hey, it's Ed from ClickSgeek here. Here's a report. It's got PPC Ad Lab plastered all over it. You're not going to do that. So we recognize and support our agency users, in particular, that white label was essential. So the first thing we did was make the platform completely white label. So you can use your own domain, your own logos, your own colors, your own contact forms, the things you would expect to be able to do. And customizable links. So in your email, or I'll just mention this, you don't have to just think about email. Think about LinkedIn and other places where you can outreach to people too. You know, personalized one-to-one email in LinkedIn message going, hi, seeing where you are in your market, to show you who else is in there. It's a pretty compelling thing to do. So we've greatly personalized links. And each of those links is for every single advertiser we find, we create a personalized link just for them that you can send to them through whatever platform, be it email, LinkedIn, or anywhere else, Smoke Signal if you wish. But when they click on it, they will go to a white label report. And that report starts off with effectively a high level summary data about how many advertisers there are, how many keywords, you know, even the frequency with which ad extensions are seen or phone extensions are seen, what else is on the page, like local service ads, shopping ads, and maps. And I'll talk about those in a few more minutes. But those things all, you know, matter to account performance. You can then look in detail at any of those particular individual charts and tables of data and say, look at the ads, we can look at the competition, look at what's in shopping, we can look at what's in local service ads. All of those data points are available to you to look at. And it's quite, it's like a high-level market report. Well, in fact, it's not even high level, it's quite a detailed market report of
Right.
who is playing in the market, which parts of the market are they in the LSAs? Are they just in the regular ads? If so, how often, how many ads? What average position are they in? What keywords are they running for? What times of day are they turning their ads off? Are they running weekends? So you really have got a detailed picture of who is advertising in that market, to what level, and you know, and how they're going about it. And we often find, and just for context, one keyword, one city, 1 week will typically have between 40 and 60 different advertisers showing up, which is mind blowing. I mean, that staggers me. And most agencies, and certainly most business owners, do not realize the depth of competition that they're playing against. And in fact, they often don't realize who the people they are competing against the most actually are. Google kind of shows you little bits of this information, but nowhere near enough detail. It's kind of truncated. It's not complete in any way, shape, or form. So actually showing people who their real competitors are is a big deal. So we facilitate that by making it your reporting, your service, not ours. And one of the things that we found, one of our early users went, hey, just let you know, Rob and Joe, I sent somebody this report as a foot in the door to start a conversation. They loved it and wanted it on a regular basis. So I've sold them a subscription. They are now subscribing to a monthly market report to show them how the market is changing over time, who the key players are, what's happening, when new offers are coming out into the market. So people are bringing in new ads. If Google are changing the page layout, there's new things coming in. And all I do is shoot them a 5-minute video once a month talking about the report that they've got automatically.
That's awesome.
And people sell it as a service. We were like, that's a really smart idea. Didn't think of that, but yeah. So people are using it actually as a what we call a fulfilled by software offer. You know, there's no human deliverable in that for many people. It's just Here's your link, end of the month, off you go.
Very cool. Do you see that being more applicable on the e-commerce side of things or on the localized side of things?
We've seen it on both. We've seen, see where we have seen strong interest in this. And we've recently sold an enterprise level deal purely on the basis of two specific instances of this. It's multi-location businesses where there is a corporate and they're looking at not just how one location performs, but they're looking at how several locations perform. And they want to know who are their key players in each location, who is the key competition, where do they sit in that like community group relative to their peers. Solo locations don't tend to do that as much, but multi-locations are certainly interested in that high-level metric. We've just taken on from one client 120 franchise locations for exactly that. Now they have a second use case as well, which is also being sold as a standalone service by some of our agencies who are selling brand monitoring. Who's bidding on your brand? Because again, it's really hard to see. It's often accidental, but if you can take down brand competitors, either with a nice phone call, with an email, or with something more threatening if you wish to go down that route, you can often get better brand control, better brand leverage, not need to run too much brand ads, and get a better outcome for that. So for anybody who, and I think it's mainly for business owners, it feels uncomfortable people piggybacking on your brand. It's kind of like you're leveraging my brand name and my efforts to grow your business. That's not cool. And I can understand why many business owners don't like that. I've personally had that done to our old agency before we sold it. And it's equally flattering and freaking annoying. So those two kind of hands-off, fulfilled by software offers have proved really popular so far.
Interesting. I would imagine on the franchise side and the multi-location side, for the research side for corporate to figure out where potential new territory opportunities are, that might be a good use case as well, looking to develop new areas.
Yeah, they use it as well to make sure the franchisees are behaving themselves and not advertising out of area. Because who'd have thought it? Franchisees get sneaky and advertise slightly outside their limits, and the guy the next city over or the next zip code over doesn't like it very much. No, they take it seriously. They take it very seriously. So, but until now, they couldn't enforce it. It's one of those rules they had, but it's practically unenforceable. In fact, I've seen a 3,000 location franchise who tried to enforce it by their agency once a month. The intern would go and take screenshots.
Interesting.
I think the first month we ran for them, they found 5 franchisee infringements. We found 84.
Wow. And you know, Google's not doing any favors there on the ad allocation stuff.
Exactly.
Very cool.
I think you said something important, Rob, too, like that I want to point out. Like when we sell Google ads to somebody already running Google ads, you know, the only pitch that we can really have is we'll do a better job, which means we'll get you more leads and it'll cost less money, or some type of combination of the two. What I find is really cool with brand monitoring and some of the other things that we've brought up is like we're really able to invoke like the emotional side of the buyer, right? Or the prospect, instead of just the logical more for less or better quality. And so it really brings out a different sales kind of enablement angle, if you will, to really get them invested and upset and invested in really wanting to solve a problem instead of just more for less, which is what we're used to as as agency owners hearing, right?
Absolutely.
I think on that point actually as well, what we found, once people started asking for this, we started researching how big a thing is this. And what we found is that about in the tests we've run, we tested in the dental market just for interest, since the market we've got lots of experience in. About 70% of brand owners have people bidding on their brand, even a local industry like dentistry. Now, there's a good chance that at least half of that is accidental brand bidding, because they, you know, if you're called, if you're South Tampa dentistry, well, it's a strong likelihood that people are going to be advertising on phrases relating to that. What they don't realise is the impact on their own account in terms of, you know, we know competitor ads are more expensive to buy. We know that the quarter scores they get and ad relevancy scores are generally very low. So they're not doing a great service for the competitor who's bidding against your account. and they're certainly not helping you as an advertiser. So actually, by bringing that up, what is often an accidental bid, actually is in some respects kind of a service to the market as much as anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. The phrase match drives that, and pick a trade, pick a doctor. It's just that, and then you mix in removing the broad match modified, and you move all these things around, and not seeing search term reports anymore, or not seeing full conversion data in the search term report. You just start scratching your head, because you know the big guy gets all that information that we're not privy to anymore. So having some level of insight into that to be an external tool, I think, is super powerful.
One of our favorite outreach methods that we haven't really talked about is putting in all kinds of crazy keywords, right? Stuff that people would never want to show up for, right? Plumber scam in Tampa, worst plumber in Tampa. And sending that, I mean, talk about invoking an emotional response from a prospect, right? Like, I don't know about you, but as an agency owner, like if I can invoke that emotional response, I have a much better chance of closing the deal. And like as an agency owner, usually it's really hard to pull those emotional strings, if you will.
That's a wild idea. That didn't even occur to me, running it that way. That is very interesting. I mean, you could make it appear for basically anything if you're on broad match. Yeah. I tell this story. We had a painter in Los Angeles many years ago, and it was the keyword was painter in Los Angeles, and the keyword that came in was hire a painter in Los Angeles to tie me up and paint me naked. And that was in the search term report. And we were like, oh, my God. I was like, I don't even know what to say to that. I was like, that poor person.
That.
Yeah. That's awesome. Very cool. What else should I know about software? Anything else I should be thinking about how to leverage it from a reporting or from an outreach standpoint?
I think high level, I'll turn it over to you, Rob. I think but at the end of the day, like we've talked a lot about prospecting, and we've talked a lot about like some self-fulfilled services, if you will, like by just using the tool and running reports for people. But I think like we've missed the rest of the life cycle. So I think, we need to talk really high level about what those other areas are that we find agencies using the tool for.
And this is where I get to go into my kind of zone, because I'm a PPC guy at heart. Joe's an agency owner and an agency builder. I'm a PPC guy at heart. So I'm almost slightly offended that these marketers are taking my tool and make it a marketing thing. It's like, it's a PPC thing, don't you know? It's a proper one. You're not doing it right. So one of the things that I'm always interested in PPC manager, and now I will generalize and apologize for the generalization at the same time. Having hired lots of PPC managers and being one myself, we tend to be fairly data-driven individuals. We tend to be process-driven because PPC has lots of processes, lots of technical data steps, has lots of analysis requirements in it. Often one of the parts of our job that we find the most difficult is creative around that, because it's a human thing, it's a copywriting thing, it's a liaising with your client thing, and agreeing on messaging to market is going to work. But yeah, if we step into the data at the moment, and I last year spent about a month writing like a 75-page statistical breakdown of quarter score to back this comment up, Google heavily reward click-through rate right now. It's one of their primary drivers of quarter score and their measurements. And yeah, as an ad manager, it's often where we're weak. We often write ads sat in our own bubble, looking at our own dashboard, split testing our ad A versus our ad B. And in reality, that's not where the fight's happening. The fight's happening in search results page with people that you can't see running ads that you haven't read before. And so what we try to do is bring that ad copy on a keyword level. We say, okay, the most visible ads in your market for this keyword are these ads. This is the messaging. We allow you to filter them and things for them. Show me all the ads that have got dollar sign. Show me ads that have got a guarantee or 24/7 or free or discount or sale. Anything you want. But look for those key messages so that when you're onboarding a client, and onboarding is such a good time to do, rather than having that awkward conversation of what's your offer, what do you want to put to market, shall we do a free quote ad, which is the kind of default go-to when you run out of all other imagination. Let's write ads that are market appropriate against the competition you are most likely to be seen against. And all we do is run a PPC Ad Lab job for a few days beforehand. So we have all that data. We know what the message in the market is. Then as an ads manager, we can write better ads out of the gate on day one, get better click-through rates, better quality scores, and better ad account performance. So we do that on day one. And what we like to do, once we've got that in play and we understand who we're competing against, is leave what we call, I would call like a tick over monitoring job. Just check Google Ads, morning, afternoon, evening, and overnight, so 4 times a day, desktop and mobile, for the primary keywords you are interested in for your client, the things that move the needle on their campaign. And we have things in there called notifications that will allow you to be notified when anything changes of significance. So new ads come into the market, new advertisers come into the market. We're working at the moment, so when the page layout changes, so if LSAs start appearing on a search term that they weren't appearing previously. So you don't get blindsided, you know what's happening in the course of a month, because we've all had those campaigns where you do your February report, it looks great, numbers are good. You're getting into March, and the March report's coming out, you go, oh crap, something stopped working. And you know that conversation you have sometimes, but nothing has materially changed in the campaign. Why is it now not working? If you've not changed something, then something's changed outside of your visibility and outside of your control. That's either Google has changed the page layout, which you can catch, or an advertiser's now giving a message, or more frequently, or a different type of message to compete against yours more effectively. And we send those notifications directly to our users. So if on the 15th of the month a new ad comes out that makes yours look obsolete now, you could deal with it on the 15th of the month, react to it, and stop that problem before it even occurs. And that's a nice way of avoiding those difficult conversations sometimes.
Very cool. That's awesome.
I've done the same actually. Just we've just mentioned on that. We've talked about lead gen a lot here.
Yep.
We do the same for e-com. So we get all the shopping ads, all the price points, all the reviews. So shopping prices change.
Oh, that's a good idea.
When you're up against the most.
Right.
If suddenly one of your competitors drops its price or starts showing a different product against yours, we can let you know, and you can take an action accordingly, because again, before it becomes a problem.
Interesting. Very cool. Now, so you got lead gen and you've got management here. Who do you think's got the better use case here? At the end of the day, who do you think this is better for, lead gen or operations? If you had to pick one.
What's the measuring stick? Right?
I'm most excited about it from the lead gen perspective, and I think you are as well, Joe.
Rob, I think it depends on like the result that we're using to measure it, right? And that's why I asked about measuring stick, right? Because we have agencies that are getting crazy results just in terms of fulfillment, using it for competitive intelligence, and like just taking one strategy, like building a better ad, right? By understanding what's running in the marketplace, and just that can have such a crazy impact. But if we take like audience excitement, right? Like our customers' excitement, it's got to be lead gen.
Lead gen, got it. That's kind of.
And I would. I'm moderately annoyed to agree with Joe on this one, but I do agree with it. And here's the thing: as PPC managers, we tend to be, process-driven people. So we are finding ways to educate PPC managers how to bring it into their management process easily and seamlessly, so it delivers value, not work. And PPC managers are often, not always, more conservative and more slow to change that process. So our process to deliver value there, quite truthfully, is longer because it takes more time to get that change embedded into a business. Whereas agency owners, looking around this call, I'm going to make a generalization. You tend to be more entrepreneurial, more open, more fast acting, going, that's great for prospecting, I get that, go. And so I think that's the difference. We're working currently on a Chrome extension to embed Ad Lab data directly to a Google Ads user interface, which I suspect our PPC managers will love, because now you don't have to leave the interface.
That makes a lot of sense. Very cool.
But it's not there yet. That's a future thing.
Okay. Cool. Before we wrap up, if you're interested in this, I'll drop links below that you guys can, hop over and check out their website, check out the product, see what it's like. take a tour around. Is there anything you guys would like to leave on that people should know?
Rob, would you highlight just kind of the cool deal we put together for ClicksGeek and how we really made sure to take care of, all of Ed's customers and anybody that watches this?
I will do that in 1 second. There's one thing I want to do first.
Yep.
One thing I would just say, Ed.
Yep.
I said I wasn't going to bash the competition, and I'm not going to name anybody, but let's just say we've benchmarked ourselves against the people you would probably have heard of in our space.
Okay.
Their data is historic, it's sampled, and it's backwards looking. Ours is real time, live, and complete. We typically find a minimum of 10 times more advertiser data than the other tools have found. So if you've ever had that frustration before trying to use one and going, they're showing there's no ads for this advertiser, I know they're spending. Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We have data.
Yeah, I've talked about this on the channel where it's been embarrassingly off. Like, it like devastating in a sales call. Oh, it shows you $1,000 a month, and it's like, nope, I spend $60 a month, and it's like, all right, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So I've been there.
Yeah, we would never put you in a position where you are leading with a number where the client can easily disprove your number immediately. Anything we provide is real time and demonstrably provable. But to speak to Joe's point, we recognize that, Ed, we're grateful for you having us here and having that time today. And I know you're a user of the tool as well, which makes it cool. I know how excited we were. We talked about it the first time.
Yep.
We put together a deal where we take our best agency plan, which is our agency plan is like a top tier, whistles and bells, everything plan, because it's designed for growing agencies that are growing. And that goes out at $397 a month. Let's just say on the deal that we put together, it's nowhere near less than half that, and packed with even more goodies to make sure that anybody who wants that plan gets the absolute best level of tool we can provide them, with everything you could ever possibly want in it for a fraction of the cost.
Yep. The one thing I'll say is even if you don't do the management side of things, so just purely on the lead gen side of things, to be able to pull a list of known Google Ads users. So if you're selling drugs, you want to sell to the drug addicts. If you're selling food, you want to sell to the hungry crowd. Just to find a list of known advertisers in a market is to do it for, you guys didn't even tell me you're doing this, so I don't even know what price it is. Whatever that price is, if it's anything lower than the price you quoted, it's well worth it. We've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to try to figure out how to identify lists of known Google Ads users and made an ROI with that much higher price point. So if they're able to automatically pull at lower rates, it's even better.
We need to up the price, Rob. Only roll this back. No, I'm just kidding. But we can do just that. And that's why we built the tool. Obviously, you guys gave the example of just, a lot of the competitors, are a snapshot and backwards looking. We talked about Tampa Plumber, right? If you go look around in the tools that you use, you'll find 0 results, 2 results, 3 results, 4 results. And if you use Ad Lab, the last time I ran the tool, I ran it for a week, and we found 45 advertisers. Right? Like that data, like you said, case in point, is worth its weight in gold to somebody that's trying to sell to that market.
Absolutely. That's wild. All right. Awesome. I will drop links below. Joe, Rob, this was awesome. Thank you very much for coming on today.